So if you guys have been watching the channel, then you might know what this means. Long-term test with the Ioniq 5. Well, not quite as long as the Silverado series, but I'll take what I can get. So welcome back to another video series where I'm going to be daily driving another vehicle, this time for not as long as the Silverado, which was a little bit over a month actually. This time I'm going to have the Ioniq 5 for hopefully, fingers crossed, 1 week to drive. Put about 250 miles on the vehicle or so. Obviously this is an unsold brand new vehicle that is kind of hard to get still, so we don't want to put a lot of miles on it. So if you're watching this video here in the future, this vehicle might actually still be for sale. So if you're interested, feel free to reach out. But like I said, we're going to be taking the Ioniq 5 SEL trim, which I think is going to be the more volume trim in the Ioniq's lineup in the long run. Now the Limited is very popular as well, whereas the SE is probably going to be more of a limited volume vehicle. But we're going to take it for a week, see how it is to live with the vehicle, do quite a few videos, which I will explain here in a second what I plan on doing, and just see what it's like to live with an EV. And what's interesting is right now I'm actually heading over to another location to film a new e-bike or electric bicycle on the market. One I think a lot of people will enjoy, especially if you're kind of into e-bikes, know what they're all about, know what they have to offer, some of the features and stuff on them. So make sure to keep an eye out on the channel if you're interested in e-bikes. And I figured while we're on our way over there, I would film a little bit of content telling you guys about what I have planned for the Ioniq 5, hopefully over this next week. Fingers crossed I get to do everything that I do have planned. And go over a little bit more of my thoughts on the Ioniq 5 and the driving experience. Of course, I do already have my first drive video on the channel. However, the more time you get to spend with the vehicle, the better your impressions begin to be. So let's go ahead and head over there, film those e-bikes, and tell you a little bit more about what I have planned. So I'm currently starting out with 59 miles on the odometer, 94% indicated state of charge. You can see the car shows about 238 miles of estimated range. It's actually not too cold out. It's actually above freezing right now, which is crazy. We'll go ahead and get the seats going, heated steering wheel going. Of course, always nice to have. Huge benefit of the SEL in my opinion. And we're gonna also reset all of the trip information so we know how much energy I've used. So we're gonna reset the accumulated, see what it's like at the end of my driving. And I guess one thing I do want to do is, because I'm going to be mostly charging on 110 volt power, is change the state of charge limit for 110 volts. So I believe we go up here, energy information, and we do AC charger. I'm going to bring that down to 80%. Now the reason I'm bringing that down to 80% is because that's typically the range, 80 to 90% depending on the EV, where you want to keep the battery during daily driving or weekly driving commutes. Now obviously you can bump it up to 100 if you plan to go on a road trip, kind of drain the battery a little bit quickly, but typically for battery longevity and kind of just the overall usage of EV, you want to keep it between 80 and 90% on a typical daily driving basis. So we can see that I have currently 94, it'll go down to 80, I believe below 80 by the time I am ready to charge for the first time. And that is also something I've planned, is to do mostly 110 volt driving, because I don't have an extremely long commute. So I think I can easily get away with 110 volt charging, roughly 8 to 10 hours every night, plugging it in when you get home, unplugging it when you come to work, and just repeating the process either on a daily or every other day basis, and you'll regain all of the energy needed to do your daily commute. So I just got in, turned on all the climate controls and everything, and ran the front wipers. There's a little bit of condensation on the inside of the windshield, but I look in the back, there's condensation and dirt on the rear window. So I go to run the rear wiper. I drive a hatchback, and of course there's no rear wiper on the Ioniq 5. That's something I gotta admit and agree with other owners about, is that there probably should be a rear wiper for most cases. I think a lot of people that live in the Midwest, just in general I guess, like to have a rear wiper to kind of clean the window, but obviously you can't do that because there isn't one. So setting out here in the Ioniq 5, I think we're actually gonna give it a quick wash before I go over there, just so it's nice and clean on my drive. And it's actually supposed to be very nice weather-wise over the period of time here in second week of January, which is crazy. Man, every time I drive an EV like this, it's just such a strange feeling, because it's like not even close to what an internal combustion engine feels like. Quiet, lots of torque on demand. So now you might be wondering, why am I in the SEL versus the Limited? To show you all the features and options. Well, there's a couple reasons for that. The first one is, I think the Limited is still a little bit more in demand. People want all the features and options available on the Ioniq 5. At least that's typically what we've seen. So that is the first reason. The second reason is, I think the SEL is where the bang for the buck is at, actually. So this is the one that I actually prefer to show you guys and kind of live with for a short period of time. Now the SE is also a nice affordable option. However, it's just a little bit less than this one. Really not a huge price difference. And I think in terms of build volume, the SEL is going to be the volume leader in the Ioniq 5 lineup. The Limited's probably second, and the SE is probably last, believe it or not. So that is just one reason. I don't think the SE is going to be overall very popular in terms of sales. Of course, it'll still be available in certain markets. Overall, I think the SEL and the Limited will be the first and second in terms of volume. But it was cool that we've had all three trims on the lot for about a week. So if anybody wanted to come in and look at the Ioniq 5, see what the features, options, and trims look like, they could look at every single option available currently on the market, which I guarantee is a very rare occurrence at any other dealership across the country to have all three in stock at a given time. So that was a pretty cool opportunity. And of course, if the video is not already up, there will be a buyer's guide video coming up very shortly where I go over, put them all three side by side and show you what each Ioniq trim has to offer. So I'll go ahead and throw a card up in the corner if the video is live. If it's not, it should be up very shortly. So now to discuss some of the videos that are coming in the series on the Ioniq 5. The first one, obviously going back to the charging, is I want to see if you can actually charge with 110 on a daily basis and kind of what your range would be or need to be with your commute rather to sustain a 110 volt charging structure. Because a lot of people, including myself, would like to have a level 2 access in the garage at home, but obviously that costs a little bit of money, not as much as a lot of people out there have been quoting. I've seen crazy numbers saying, oh, it's going to cost $3,000 to install, a level 2 charger in your garage. Well, yes, that might be true for some people, but for the vast majority of people with an attached garage that have at least some sort of electrical access from the basement or something, it should be, $500 to $1,000 to run the electrical. It's really not crazy expensive like some out there have quoted. You don't need to pull new power if you already got 200 amp service. Now, of course, if your home's older with detached garage, that's when it starts to get a little bit pricey, but for a lot of people out there, it's not really all that expensive. Now, the next few videos I want to cover is the likes and dislikes. Obviously, I'm going to give you my final impressions at the end of the week with this vehicle. I also want to cover or see if I'm able to kind of distinguish what the overall cost differences will be if you were to charge at home, run on electricity versus a typical gas car that gets, roughly 25 miles per gallon or so. So I want to see if I can calculate that based on my roughly 200 miles of driving. I'm not exactly sure if that's going to be possible or I'm going to be able to do that, but I'm going to see at the end of the week if I can go ahead and possibly calculate the difference in cost to just operate and drive the vehicle kind of on a weekly basis. And next I have a video planned with a partner. This is going to be one of the first partners on the channel for a product, and that has to do with a certain feature that every Ioniq 5 comes with from the factory, where you have access to a 120 volt outlet. So keep an eye out for that. There's a product coming. And lastly, I want to do a DC fast charge video at a public charging station, but unfortunately, I don't think that's going to be possible because it kind of interferes with my 110 volt charging plan that I have over the week. And also, I don't think I'm going to be able to drain the range enough. I just don't have enough mileage that I'm able to drive this specific vehicle to make that possible. So we're going to see in the future if I can do a DC fast charge video with a different Ioniq 5. But unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to be able to do it with this exact vehicle. So those are the 5 videos or so that should be coming in this week-long series in addition to this video. Now, like I said, one of them might not be possible or probably won't be possible, but we'll see if we can do that in the future, either with this car or another car that I can put more miles on. But I'm excited to just be able to drive this vehicle for a week, kind of experience the EV life, because I've never really lived with an EV more than a few hours at a time. I think it's something I would personally like to own in the future. However, I don't drive a lot. So does it make financial sense and does it make kind of environmental sense for my personal driving? I'm not so sure about that. So it's something that I'm definitely looking into, especially with the EV tax rebates from the federal as well as the state level. Even though the Illinois one is almost out of money, I think it'll be out of money by the end of January, almost guaranteed. So that is something I might have to discuss in a future video. But the federal incentive, of course, does not apply to the Ioniq 5, at least currently, which is a very big bummer because I think this vehicle could use it. I think sales may start to slow depending on how the economy goes and how the overall price point of other competing EVs come out to be. So we just arrived to film the EV bikes I was talking about. Make sure to keep an eye out for that video. 3, 2, 1. Oh, it spun the front tire. Okay, so that was a whole lot of fun, way more fun than I was expecting, to be honest. I can't say I've had that much fun with a bicycle in a long time, if ever. So make sure to check out those Hummer EV bikes in the separate video I have on the channel if you guys have not already. But anyways, back to the video as to my first driving impressions for the Ioniq 5. I have to say, you know, it's easy to understand once you're behind the wheel of one of these vehicles why this vehicle has received such awards, accolades, just high praises from press reviewers, owners. And this isn't even the top fully loaded trim, and it just is feature packed. In terms of EV technology, it has 800 volt charging infrastructure or capacity in this vehicle. So it's just pretty much easy to understand as to why it's just getting high praises and high press and awards left and right. And even people at that dealership at the GMC Buick store were walking out wondering what it was. There was a customer that walked over and said he saw all the awards and press information that's come out on the Ioniq 5 since launch. So there's just a lot of attention around this vehicle. So I'm pretty sure anywhere you go, you might get questions or might get people walking up to you saying, hey, how you like driving that thing? Hey, you know, how's the experience been? How's the charging network been? You know, how does this work? How does that work? EVs are new. They're getting more refined as the years and time goes on. It's just interesting to see just how much, you know, attention this vehicle draws. Oh yeah, and one thing I wanted to try out quickly in this video is to whether or not eco mode is dangerously slow on throttle application and acceleration, because some people who have been getting the preconditioning update on their 2022 models say the update impacts the eco drive mode, makes it substantially slower to the point of almost being dangerously slow because it is that slow at accelerating. Now I want to try that out here in this 2023 that already has built-in preconditioning, but immediately upon changing the drive modes, the throttle application is way more numbed and slowed down versus that of normal, and of course sport is crazy, but we have people going way under the speed limit here. So I'm gonna go full throttle at 40. No, it's still very reasonably quick at full throttle. So we'll have to see from a stop here if the eco mode is really dumbed down near zero and at the slower speeds, because they do say as the speed picks up, the acceleration gets a little bit better, but they say at near zero or at zero, it's incredibly slow. So we're gonna try that out here once I come to the stop sign. So here from a stop in eco mode, it really, I mean, yeah, I guess I see what they're talking about, especially if you need to cut in through traffic and stuff like that. But once you get going, about 30, 35 miles an hour, it picks up very nicely. But if you're not used to that and that's not how eco mode used to be, that would definitely be a big deal to me. So hopefully you guys are excited for this new video series. Now I really want to do a 1-month review to keep things consistent along that I did with the Silverado. How unfortunately this vehicle is still extremely popular, still hard to get in many markets, and many dealerships don't have any at all. So I understand why the importance is to keep the mileage down, keep this vehicle available on the lot for purchase and stuff like that. So I will do as much content as I can with this vehicle over the 1 week or so that I have with it. Now if somebody comes in and buys it tomorrow, unfortunately that series is going to be cut short, but I already have a couple of videos filmed with it, including this one. So hopefully you guys are excited for it. If there's anything that you want me to do with this vehicle, leave a comment in this video, because I'm pretty much going to be posting these as I film them to get them out there right away, so you guys can kind of see what the Ioniq 5 is like to live with on a daily basis. Again, hopefully you guys are excited. If you guys enjoyed this video, hit that like button. It greatly helps out these videos in the channel. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you guys are not already subscribed, and check out some of the other content available. And as always, hope to see you guys in the next one.